Jennifer Joy Jackson describes herself as a jack of all trades and a master of most. Her career and life experiences include being a professor, the author of 5 books and a new children's book, a serial entrepreneur, mom of 2, life coach, licensed professional counselor, and licensed marriage and family therapist. One of Jennifer's greatest joys is being present when her clients learn to love and heal themselves. And during our conversation, she shares 2 standout examples of when she experienced clients reaching their aha moments on the way to learning to love themselves and heal. Jennifer is also a brain spotting practitioner. What is brain spotting? Listen to the podcast as Jennifer helps us understand what it is and how it helps professionals like her hone in on what her clients are really experiencing internally. During the episode, we'll also learn the biggest light bulb moments of her own life, about the experience in Sorrento, Italy that helped cement her belief that we are all connected, about the really unique and awesome goal she has for her 50th birthday. Hint, it involves an elephant, and more about Jennifer the woman. Stick around for this episode of the Age Has No Limit podcast. You'll enjoy getting to know Jennifer Joy Jackson. It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Age Has No Limit podcast. I am here with Jennifer Joy Jackson. And Jennifer, I have to say that the more I read your background, the more excited I was to speak with you, so you can share your brilliance with our audience. So I'm going to start with what you wrote that really, made me sit up. And that was, I love being present when my clients learn to love and heal themselves. If you can share 2 standout examples of when you experience clients learning to love themselves and heal themselves, but if you can also let us know exactly what you do and the types of clients that you typically have.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you. So I am a life coach and I'm also a mental health therapist.
Mhm.
And the type of clients I have right now, I have a lot of African American women, high-powered, fast-moving, taking on the world and being asked to do more with less women. I also work with couples
Mhm.
and then with other individuals, with men, some children that are maybe in their teens, but not much younger than that.
Mhm.
Um, and as far as that statement that stood out, I remember I had a teacher who was just phenomenal and very greatly impacted my life. And he was teaching us about teaching back when I was a professor. And so he said, I can't make anyone learn, but it sure is fun to be in the room when it happens. And
Mm.
that stuck with me for however many years. And when I think about the honor that it is for me to hold space for people and for them to share their stories, for us to walk alongside each other in life for as long as our relationship is,
Mhm.
a therapeutic relationship, that's how it feels. That I
Mhm.
can't heal anyone. People are like, can you fix me? No, but I
Mhm.
do love to be there and be able to watch them when they're learning. So learning to do that for themselves. So I have 2 people that came to mind. And it's not like a specific it's not like a specific light bulb moment, but I might be wrong because I can also remember the light bulb moment. So
Mhm. Mhm.
sometimes it's something that happens over time. And then
Mhm.
I'm able to look back, and especially if we've worked with each other for some time, I can look back and say, remember when you started this journey and where
Mhm.
you were? Look at where you are now, and look at the growth and look at the change. And with that particular person I have in mind, there was a lot of trauma, a lot of shame, a lot of childhood things that they were dealing with that were impacting their present time, their jobs, their relationships. So now to look and see the relationship that that person is in and to see how differently she shows up
Mhm.
as opposed
Mhm.
to when we first started. And it's because she values herself. She sees her self worth. She knows how to express boundaries and communicate her needs. Um,
Mhm.
that's it's just beautiful to be able to look and see and point that out to them.
Yeah.
I had another person who was high powered CEO, doing all the things, being promised the promotions that were never going to be delivered.
Mm.
And she was very happy and bubbly. And at one point she said, Jennifer, if I didn't start working with you, I don't think I'd be here right now. And we
Mm.
had only been to working together for maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, but just to point out, just to validate the pain that people are in, to
Yeah.
validate, to normalize, like, sis, that's a lot. You're
Yeah.
going through a lot.
Yeah.
Just for somebody to say that allows us to just feel seen for a second. It is
Yeah.
a lot, isn't it? And it's not another person who's adding more to that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were explaining that, I was thinking about the university professional. She was the university administrator that um, committed suicide several months ago. I'm sure you're familiar
Yes.
with that story. And it made me think about the fact that everybody is absorbing a lot and the fact that they are carrying it, even though it's a lot. And it just makes me wonder why. And I'm not asking you to answer this question, but it just makes me ask the question why so many people feel like they have to carry that load. And there are different reasons for that, and I'm sure that's your expertise. But it just made me really think about some of the things that like you said, if a person
Right.
said that, that's very I'm glad that she opened up and I'm glad she reached out to you when she did.
Me
So
too. Me too.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, so now, the audience knows, and I like to start with what folks, the impact that they're having in their community before we talk about who they are. And so now's the time for the audience to know a little bit about who Jennifer is. Where are you from? And what do you think is the most important thing that the audience needs to know about you?
When you start using words like most, it just makes me like, oh my gosh, I have to narrow it down. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I
Mhm.
am originally from Lansing, Michigan. Right now, I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Mhm.
Have lived all around Michigan in my adult life. Um,
Mhm.
I'm the daughter of two amazing parents who loved and raised me with my siblings.
Mhm.
They are both now in spirit, so I get to experience them in a different energy.
Mhm.
Um, and well, that leads me into one of the things that people need to know about me.
Mhm.
This is something that I kept kind of separate. I kept secret for a very long time. Is that I have a lot of spiritual gifts. I
Mhm.
used to say I think I'm a little bit psychic. And now
Mhm.
in my life, I'm like, okay, I have a gift where I can hear things or know things or feel
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
Um, and it allows me to show up differently and it allows me to rely on spiritual helpers and allows me to help other people heal as well. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing is that I'm consistent. So the way I talk with you or interact with you is how I interact with clients, is how I interact with my kids.
Mhm.
I'm silly, I'm serious, I'm direct. There's
Mhm.
always a life lesson somewhere.
Mhm. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Number one, you're opening, well, not opening up, but you are noticing that there's this deeper power and deeper connection that you have. And I'm wondering if you ever sat down, you probably have, and said, that could explain why I've chosen the career path that I've chosen. Have you connected those, or do you think it was sequential? You chose a career path, and then you realized you had this additional a deeper spiritual connection or awakening or awareness. Would love to know what your thoughts are about your career path, your academic pursuits, and the fact that you are still, working with folks. As you said, you provide mental health therapy, and of course, as a life coach.
Yeah, I don't know that I knew the depth of my power, if I can say, until
Mhm.
very recently. And
Mhm.
so looking back, I can see as a child when I knew things or I had experiences with angels and things like that. But
Mhm.
I was raised in a very conservative situation. And
Mhm.
so there was a disconnect between,
Yeah.
even though we sing about angels and we know that there's angels, but we don't talk about spirit and we don't talk
Yeah.
about angels. So that was, I think, wrestling in my mind for a very long time. Um,
Mhm.
And then I had a reading, an energy reading with someone, and they explained like it seems like you've got like something, some kind of magic that you go up and play with. It's like a little bear who goes up in a tree and plays with something, and comes down where the people are, but they don't know what's up there, and you don't bring it
Mhm.
down. And I was like, so just having him point that out, that was
Mhm.
2 years, maybe 3 years ago,
Mhm.
allowed me to just say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to be me. I'm
Yeah,
not trying to compartmentalize myself anymore. And if
yeah.
anybody has a problem, they can take it up with God. It's
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you mentioned that you have children. How old are they? Well, not how old they are. But anything you'd like to share about
yeah.
your children?
Oh, Patrice, my children are lights in this world. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, I like them. I don't
Yeah.
just love them. I like them. I like
Yeah.
hanging out with them. I
Mm-hmm.
have a 9 and a 12-year-old, a boy and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and they're cool. They're
Yeah.
really like my daughter has some spiritual gifts. We were looking at some houses and apartments, and she's like, "Mom, I just don't have a good feeling about this one," or "Mom, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there was maybe some activity down here." I was like, "Okay." And then
Mm-hmm.
yesterday she said, I'm so glad I have a mom who listens to what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. I said,
Wow.
girl, I mean, hey, I know you. You know. And then my son is just all about cuddling with me. And if he hears music, I was working out and he came downstairs just dancing. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
they're so cool.
Yeah.
They
And this is the age where you can really, really enjoy them too.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
they reflect if my daughter can feel that I'm off or I'm upset about something. She's almost 5'9" and she's
Yeah.
12. And she'll
Yeah.
put her hands on my shoulder and just say, Mom, just take a breath. We're okay. It's okay. Just, ah, I'm glad I taught you well.
I know. So
But I
now
don't
you
want you to
can,
parent me, but
yes.
you can, but
I like that. I like that. Which is good because now she can turn those energies towards you, and that's fantastic.
yeah.
So because there's so many people who are life coaches, some with more experience than others, and obviously the way that it depends on what they specialize in. But as I was reading, I was like, this is the kind of person that I would certainly be, interested in, working with me as a life coach. And for the audience, I'm about to share why. I'm about to drop her background here. So she has two master's degree, one in communication and another in counseling education. You are a licensed professional counselor. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is a certified brain spotting practitioner. And for those of you who are wondering, okay, what is brain spotting? That's my next question. Don't worry. And she is a certified life coach. And that's not it. I believe you're certified in one or two other things as well. But that means, I mean, that just, I just can think of all the different times in my life that I could have reached out to someone like you. I was in a mastermind with someone who is also a certified brain spotting practitioner. And I remember her explaining to us what it was. We didn't quite get it, but I would love for you to tell me what brain spotting is and
Okay.
how that can be helpful for us.
Oh, Patrice, this is where I get real nerdy. So, but I'm not apologizing anymore. I said I'm not compartmentalizing. So get
Yeah.
ready.
Yes.
I'll keep it under 6 hours. Okay. You
Okay.
ready?
Okay. No problem. No
So
problem.
in brain
Mhm.
spotting, we notice that where you look affects how you feel.
Mhm.
And the way I explain that is if I asked you to tell me something funny that happened yesterday,
Mhm.
your eyes would go to a certain place. And sometimes we know, oh, yeah, that's your brain accessing whatever.
Mhm.
But if you really think about that, your brain is connected to your eyeballs,
Mhm.
right? And so
Mhm.
if we're talking about an accident, we're talking about an injury, or you're talking about trauma, or we're just talking and I see a certain thing that I'm trained to see in your eyes.
Mhm.
If you're my client, I'm going to then go into figuring out where you're feeling that in your body
Mhm.
because our body keeps the score. Your body remembers trauma
Mhm.
and an accident and injury, all of those things. And then we're going to find out where that injury, trauma, whatever is capsulated in like a
Mhm.
little folder in your brain. And we
Yeah.
can tell that by looking at your eye position when you're talking about that. So
Mhm.
then you will hold that eye position while I hold space, and it allows your brain to process something that's not in the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, but
Mhm.
it's in the subcortex part of your brain that's just kind of been shoved down. It allows it to just process through.
Wow. So I definitely understand it. Excellent job. You are also a professor. And so it's not a surprise that you were able to just really, really help us with that wonderful summary. But that makes a lot of sense. And I remember the person explaining it that in a similar way, but I don't think it really landed. For whatever reason, I didn't really quite get it. But I appreciate that explanation.
Can I tell you one
So,
more thing about that?
sure,
Like
absolutely.
if
Mhm.
somebody was in an accident and they were driving down Main Street and then the car came from here and they saw it, then
Yeah.
they drive down Main Street and wonder why anytime they look this way, they get triggered by that accident again. So
Mm,
that's just a kind of a real life example of what can happen. And so
yeah.
then we can go and slow it down and let their brain hold that eye position while we also hold space to make sure that they know they're safe and process what actually happened in their
Wow.
body
Yeah.
so that they can drive without, they might not even realize it's the eye position that's triggering it.
What about, and so that brings up another question. Does brain spotting also help to identify good experiences, a joy based on
Mm.
the similar eye position? Or is it always, a trauma or something deep hidden that sometimes we may not want to experience again? And so I don't know. Please
Yeah.
understand.
I got you. That's a great, great question. And I'm able to use brain spotting to also help with expansion. So when
Hmm.
somebody's thinking about what they want to do next, or when they're celebrating a win,
Hmm.
and I am encouraging them to, okay, look around, or I'll lead them through to the eye positions to find out where they feel that in their body more intensely. And so
Hmm.
then we just hold that, and then I just get to watch them go, and then they
Hmm.
have that as a resource on those rough days. They can
Hmm.
come back to that position and that feeling and just like, but that was a good day.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Amazing.
amazing. So now I understand that a little bit more. And I remember this person being very, very passionate about it. She's actually a behavioral health specialist, if I remember correctly, and she has her own practice. And so this really, and of course, she also has a few mental health professionals that work within her clinic. It's probably not a practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, outside of your education, your expertise, your certifications, now what life experiences do you think make you the person to lead others to their own metamorphoses?
Yeah. Another great question. I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, she's bringing it." So I have fucked up and learned, and fucked up and not learned
Yeah,
for years, and then
yeah,
I'm, oh, this is a lesson I have to learn before I got it. I'm not
yeah.
learning this one again. So that's what, and I'm not afraid to
Mhm.
say that I have had some mistakes. Um,
Yeah.
I've also traveled a lot, so I've
Mhm.
experienced people all around the world and
Mhm.
seen humanity and seen the beauty in people. And
Mhm.
not everybody, I'm learning, even at my stage and age in life,
Mhm.
not everybody has done that. And
Mhm.
so my view of life and so many things, people,
Mhm.
is quite broad.
Mhm.
And I think I'm just very open. I wasn't always. I was
Mhm.
very,
Mhm.
like I said, conservative, very judgy, very,
Mhm.
religious. And I'm recovering from all that,
Mhm.
because it's more important for people to be seen and people to
Yeah.
feel it, to be made to feel as though they're important because they are,
Yeah.
than what their life decision has anything to do with me. It's not my business.
Mhm. That begs two questions. Number one, where would you say in your travels that if you can pinpoint a destination or even an experience in that destination that made you realize that, just made you feel number one, more connected to people that probably was that last step that you needed to take to be more open-minded, or just when you started to experience, maybe your first bout of, I wouldn't say bout, but your first step into a change or your metamorphosis. Is there a certain place or memory in your travels that opened your?
I pause only because I haven't thought about, just like I hadn't thought about the spiritual side of me and my job, my choice of careers.
Hmm.
So I'll be thinking about this after. Thank you for giving me
I
more to
know, I know.
process. Like, huh. But one memory that came to mind was I was in Italy, in
Mhm,
Sorrento, Italy,
mhm,
and I was a photographer as well
mhm. Oh,
at that time I
wow.
lived.
Hmm.
And I was on a photography trip.
Hmm.
I used to photograph the angels and
Oh,
stones in cemeteries.
yeah.
And so we were walking back from a trip and saw this little cat or dog or something under this fence. So we're playing with this thing, and all of a sudden, this big iron gate just opens. And we're
Mhm.
like, do we run? Do we stay? And this little old lady comes shuffling out there. Her name was Lucia. And
Mhm.
we didn't understand a thing that each other said, but we were there
Yeah.
and holding each other's hands. And she
Wow.
invited us to come and see her house. I think she gave us some snacks or something. And
Yeah.
didn't, I mean, I knew enough Italian to say that I was a student. May I take your picture?
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
And so just that moment of like, wow, the stories that she must have, the
Mm.
life that she's lived, the things that she's seen, just mad respect for
Yeah.
somebody who I've never seen since, uh,
Yeah.
but lives, halfway around the world.
Wow, and probably this is an amazing and it was a connection that was needed, or a connection that was important, and obviously a connection that landed and you remembered.
Yeah,
And so that's fantastic. So that needed to happen for a reason.
yeah,
I remember saying that it begs two questions. The second question is, I remember you saying that you were religious, you were judgy, and I have learned, and this is my experience and my opinion, that the more we focus on the ways that we're connected spiritually, rather than the ways that we're separated by religion. I mean, we all know that religion, and unfortunately, religions have caused, not religions, people's entrenched beliefs in their certain religions have caused wars, right? And so I'm thinking about even your experience with that Italian woman, even though you were divided by geography, language, culture, you connected. And how much more important, how much more connected we would be as people if we also didn't have religion as another thing that separates us.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's just
Hey,
important
it's
because
it's a
that
great thing to think
judginess,
about.
that judginess kind of, I think, feeds the separation. Do you know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Yes, yes. And it
So
feeds fear. And then people don't want to go outside of their comfort zone because I
mhm.
heard that people don't like Americans, like Black people. They aren't nice, whatever.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that,
thank
Marie.
you.
I appreciate Lucia having that mark on your life. I appreciate it. So I want to delve a little bit more into Jennifer the woman. So you were once a professor. Tell us what you think you enjoyed the most about being a professor, and what was the subject matter that you taught?
Yeah, I was a communication professor. So I
Mm-hmm.
taught public speaking, interpersonal, intercultural, and family communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that it was easy. It came easily to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved, again, watching the light bulbs go off, especially in interpersonal communication when we're talking about conflict or we're talking about identity, emotions. And so to talk about some of those things and people like, oh, that's why my mom blank, or that's why my kid blank,
Mm-hmm.
and there were I was at a community college. So I had 17-year-olds all the way up to 60 some year olds, and
Mm-hmm.
to foster an environment where they could talk with each other and gain perspective on what was going on in their houses from each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. And they could, okay, ask her, okay, what do you think? What do you think is going on? So it
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Yeah, and I can imagine that. Yeah, and I'd never thought about that. You just brought up something I'd never considered about community colleges. Yes, you're going to have those 17-year-olds that may be working on, what I think they're called dual degrees. I'm not even sure what they're called, all the
Yep.
way up to people that decide I want to go back to school,
Yeah.
and just a good mix of people. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now, if you can also, as we're digging a little bit more into Jennifer the woman,
Okay.
tell me what you think are two of the biggest aha moments or the light bulb moments of your life that you're willing to share.
Okay. I am willing to share anything.
I
I
love it.
always
I'm
say,
not compartmentalizing anymore.
I am
So,
not right. To myself is like, are you sure, girl? You sure? We're not compartmentalized. So, two
hmm
things that come to mind. One,
hmm
I went to see Beyonce. I saw Renaissance.
yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the concert because
hmm
the change in me happened before that. It happened as I was getting ready.
hmm
And I was walking by, I had grabbed this shirt out of my drawer on my way to pack my suitcase to go to the concert.
hmm
And I threw it in my suitcase. I'd had it for 20 some years and had never worn it before.
hmm
And I'm like, okay, I threw it in there. So with the help of my new friends that I was, sharing a room with, and we're all getting dressed for this concert, I'm able to put on this shirt. So this is a shirt that I got, or a top. It's a piece of Taiwanese lingerie, is what it is,
hmm
and it's
Yeah.
backless. It's got butterflies on it, and
Mhm.
I'd never been able to wear it before because. Side note, I don't think you know this about me. I've lost about 160 pounds in the last 2 years.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Oh, I love that.
So I hadn't been able to wear it ever. And so
Yeah.
here I am with these cargo pants and this top and
Mhm.
braids. And I walked past the mirror and I was like, oh, and I
Wow.
saw myself for the
Mm.
first time in my
Mhm.
power, in my beauty, in my
Yeah.
like, yes,
Wow.
bitch, yes,
Yeah.
this is
Wow.
you. That
Yeah.
was huge. And I came up with an alter ego, and now I call myself Genevieve when I'm feeling that power.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that was
Yes.
life
Yeah.
changing, life
Yeah.
changing.
Wow.
The second one, it came from the beauty of working with people is as you talk with them, you also get to learn some things about yourself. And
Yeah.
there are some times that I pause when when I hear myself say something or I hear them say, and I'm like, oh shoot, I
hmm
need to think about that for myself.
Yeah.
So there was one thing I heard myself continue to say, as well as the metamorphosis, the
hmm
book that I wrote
hmm
that talks about the three things awakening. I don't remember right now because I'm trying to remember my story, but the three steps,
hmm
pretty much recognizing that there is an issue,
hmm
identifying what is the emotion or the trauma that's connected to that, and then
hmm
communicating your needs and setting boundaries. I
hmm
heard myself saying that, and I realized I was in the process of that awakening myself, that recognizing myself. And
hmm
then I would hear myself saying to people, you always have a choice. Everything is a choice, and there's going to be an outcome, but you
hmm
always have a choice.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, self, you have a choice. If you're
hmm
not happy, you have a choice.
Yeah.
And so then the second light bulb moment was when I decided to divorce my husband
Wow.
and
Yeah.
realized that I was not happy and that
Yeah.
I didn't deserve a life of being unhappy.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
is,
Absolutely.
that was huge,
There's
unexpected.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are two follow-up questions. Number one, let's talk about Miss Genevieve. Just because I don't react immediately doesn't mean that it hasn't, settled.
I'm
Um,
learning you.
I may not, yeah, I'm already thinking, okay, we've got to pick back up on Genevieve. So the fact that you saw Genevieve, you had on this beautiful tie top, the top that I mean, I don't know if you picked it up in Thailand, I'm not sure, but you
I
have on
was.
this beautiful, your beautiful top,
Yeah.
and you walk by and you see yourself in the beauty that's always been there. Um, Tell me, did you see yourself and did this beauty appear because you lost the weight? What was it about that image that made you really see yourself?
I always knew that I was beautiful, even
hmm
when I was over 300 pounds. I just
hmm
have just known that. But
Yeah,
having the confidence and
yeah.
seeing, just seeing myself.
hmm
And this is not a top that I ever would have worn around anybody in my family,
Yeah.
husband, mama, daddy, sisters, nobody. And
Yeah.
so knowing that I was about to walk out and not
Mhm.
hide things or cover
Yeah.
things because I'm supposed to be a pastor's wife, I'm supposed to
Yes.
be a former missionary, I'm supposed
Yeah.
to be, and I could just be me.
Yeah.
That was like, I have to check in with myself. You good? You like
Yeah.
this? You like it? Okay, let's go. You're
Yeah.
and I realized in that moment that I no longer wanted to live my life through the lens of what other people wanted, needed, or expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that was when I go out to lunch, let me get chicken nuggets because I'm not going to eat them all so my kid can have the leftovers.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want chicken nuggets. I want the salmon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So many times I realized I was making my life choices based on
Mhm.
what other people needed or expected. And I was like, no
Mhm.
more, no
Yeah.
más.
Well, I think there are a lot of people that can identify with that. And part of the reason, and I'm glad I asked the question because really what it was, as you said, was that it was the first time you realized that you were going to be, stepping out into the world based on what looks and feels good to you now in this space without the weight of other people's opinions. And so I definitely can identify. That's why, as you were speaking, I was shaking my head and even on the same thing with, my decision to get a divorce. I remember telling people that I've always known that, not always known, but there was a certain time when I realized that in order for me to be the happy version of me or happier version of me, because I'm a glass half full woman, I'm almost always happy. But in order to be that happier version of myself, I knew I was going to more than likely have to get a divorce.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I can certainly understand, when you get to that point where you're like, you know what, there's so much more to life, and I'm not going to be able to experience that until I decide to extricate myself from this situation. So I can definitely identify with it. So
Thank you for
thank you for
sharing that.
sharing. Yeah, we're like, oh, thank you for sharing that. Because that's how we learn. Like so many of
Yeah,
our experiences are similar. So yeah, I'm there with you all the way. So you do still have your private practice.
I do. Yes.
Okay, great, great. Now tell us the name of your practice and tell us a little bit more about Metamorphosis, the program.
Yeah. Excuse me. So Living Metamorphosis
Mhm,
is the company.
mhm,
And in that, I'm doing individual coaching.
mhm,
I'm offering a 3 month
mhm,
package, and then I'm
mhm,
also working on retreats.
mhm,
So right now, doing some things that are a little bit more local to where I am, but eventually, I want to branch out and do things that are in a beautiful, abundantly beautiful place.
mhm, mhm. Excellent, excellent. And so your the mental health therapy and some of the other services that you provide, are they in person or are they all online? Not
Both.
med Both. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Great,
do
great,
some
great.
online and some I have an office nearby that I go to.
Okay, great, great. So you are also an author, y'all. She is also an author. In addition to a photographer, I didn't know that one. But she is also an author of 4 books and now an author of children's books. And every time there are certain times when I'm reading things that our guests share with us before we record the episode that I truly do either sit up straight or there's something that I read or something that I come across that really, really hits me. And so the second thing that made me sit up straight as I was learning about you was the title of this book.
Yes.
I don't know if it's your first children's book, but here's the title, y'all, and it's probably going to make y'all sit up straight. I'm supposed to be king, but my mom said no. Now, that is a powerful title,
A
and I
good
need
one.
you to tell me about the book and why you chose that title.
All right. And a little correction, I just published my fifth book, but
Oh, wow.
another child.
Wow.
So this I'm supposed to be king, but my mom said no,
Mhm,
is about a 6-year-old boy who
mhm,
is next in line to be king. My
mhm,
son's grandfather was a king in the Ivory Coast.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
technically, he's supposed to be next in line. And I was talking to my dad one time in the kitchen, and I said, "Yeah, I just found out that, James is supposed to be king." And he said, "What?
mhm.
He's supposed to be king?" I said, "Yeah, but I say no." And then we laughed, and my dad was an author. I said, "That would be a fun book to write together. And you can bring the perspective of a boy, and I can talk about the mom." And so we had planned on doing that together. And then he passed. And
Mhm,
after he passed away, the stories just started coming.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
have 10 that I've written, 3 that I've published so far. But
mhm,
I wanted to talk about real life things that
mhm,
little kids are going through.
mhm,
The first one just talks about if I were king, what realizing he has these powers that he can do things or that he's supposed to be king. Another one talks about safety, not
mhm,
leaving the house without a parent or guardian.
Mhm.
Like if I were king, I could leave whenever I want to, kind of thing. Another one talks about skin color. If I were king, everybody would be the same color. And then he learns about melanin and how God has made us and how everybody is beautiful and that. Um, there's others that talk about the loss of a loved one and
Mhm.
how that must feel as a 6 or 7 year old boy. And my goal is to follow him throughout his life and have him visit the Ivory Coast and Ghana, where his dad is from,
Mhm.
and see the difference between how he's treated as a Black boy in America versus a Black boy in Ghana. And just kind of have that's his series.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. And you said the stories keep coming, and you also said that you're experiencing your parents in a different way. I won't dig any deeper there, but there's something there. But that's I'll leave that there. But this is fantastic. I think that I appreciate you telling us a little bit more about the story. So the books that you've written in the past, the 4 to 5 other books, are they academic? Tell me a little bit about the books. And guys, by the way, we are going to include links to all of her books, all five, and this new book in the video description, or if you listen to this on Spotify or Apple, we'll definitely include the links to her books. But yeah, tell me a little bit about the other books that you've written.
So I have one that I wrote in 2019, so right before COVID. And the idea was to get people together over food and good friends and have deeper conversations than the surface things that people end up talking about. So that
Mhm.
was called Let's Table This Discussion. And
Yeah.
so it takes, my company at that time was called Empower Truth,
Mhm.
because instead of entering a conversation with your agenda, can we just empower the truth of that other person's story? And so
Mhm.
it takes each letter from that as an acronym and
Mhm.
talks about passion or travel or encouragement or whatever kind of things. And then there's questions, food for thought for people to
Mhm.
discuss.
Mhm.
And then I wrote one that, because I have a son who has a series, so I have a daughter that had better have some books,
But you
right?
better, yeah, yes.
So,
You better.
working on that one. So this one
Yeah.
is about young girls with like little girls, big emotions. So
Yeah.
how to
Mhm.
communicate what's going on, how to feel it in your body. What are some tools that they can use in the moment to de-escalate, to
Mhm.
identify what the trigger is, to handle those anxiety symptoms.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's one that I'm still working on. I haven't published that one yet. But then
Yeah.
the most recent one is the Living Metamorphosis Journal.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
going through the 3 stages
Mm.
of your awakening, and
Yeah.
ending with how do you teach people how to treat you and introduce the new you to people, because it's not like you cut off all relationships because I'm a new bitch now.
Yeah, I
That's
know,
not
right?
what it is. That is not, it may
Yeah.
happen, but
Yeah.
that is not the point.
Yes, exactly.
But how do you say, oh, I realize that I have allowed this to happen all of this time and I'm no longer comfortable with that. So I'm
Mhm.
going to need you to stop calling me out of my name. I'm going to
Yeah.
need you to stop assuming this. I'm going to need you
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. Your book about for girls, it reminds me of a statistic I heard, and that statistic has been updated to reflect the just alarming number of self-harm and suicide in young girls. And I'm just thinking how a book like that would be so, so important right now. Because I don't know what leads to self-harm, and I'm sure there are a number of reasons, but anxiety and it is probably a part of that. And I really it would be fantastic if when that book is published, if it could get into the hands of as many young girls as possible, because
Yeah.
I don't think we talk about it enough. But we are at a really critical time for young girls
Yeah.
in our society, considering all the things that are coming at them and at the pace at which it's coming at them.
Right.
And so I'm really just kind of thinking about the impact of a book that deals with that.
Mm.
So you have accomplished quite a bit, Jennifer. So you've done so many things, and I didn't even know about the travel. I didn't know about the photography. I can only imagine some of the places that you've been as a photographer. Now, what would you say is on the horizon for you? What's that next big thing that you're really excited about?
Um, I want to build my own retreat center.
Hmm.
So as I'm looking for a space and a place to move into, a home, I'm looking for a place that has some land so that I can eventually build
Hmm.
something that's quaint but still can host people
Hmm.
and be a safe and beautiful spot for people to just come and exhale.
Yeah.
I've moved about 13 times in the last 14 years. Another
Yeah.
story for another time. We'll
Yeah.
talk about these things when I come to Atlanta. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Definitely reach out to me. We can definitely have a really, really nice lunch or dinner.
That would be amazing. And
Yeah.
so I would love to own a moving company and a storage company where
Mm-hmm.
people know that it's clean, it's well lit, it's kind, and and safe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
those are two of the things that are on my horizon.
Cool, cool, cool. Now, so what do you think an age has no limit life look like? What does it look like to you?
It looks like what I'm doing right now.
Mm.
And that is dreaming and
Hmm.
doing. I don't know anybody else that does as many things as I do, and I haven't stopped long enough. I'm like, oh, huh,
Hmm.
what you're doing.
Hmm.
I didn't have time to realize that it was a thing until people are like, oh my gosh, you're doing a lot. I'm like, oh, is it? And as Black women and as
Hmm.
women in general, we're constantly thinking we're not doing enough. And
Hmm.
so now that I know that I'm enough and doing enough, now like figuring out what does this mean with the pace at which I move.
Wow.
And now I've forgotten the question that you asked me. Please ask me that one more
That's
time.
okay. What does an age has no limit look like to
Thank
you?
you. So
Mhm.
I think it is having yourself in a place where you are protecting your peace and
Mhm.
which allows you then to create. It allows you to have rest, which allows you to create, which allows you to change the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Getting to a place where I can take a nap in the afternoon for a half an hour or just lay on my floor or sit and look out the window,
yeah.
that allows the ideas to start coming and
Hmm.
then the belief in myself. And
Hmm.
then the world there's nothing that can stop us except for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So it has no age, has no limit. Absolutely. Um,
Hmm.
the only limit is you, and it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with your age. So
Yeah, and I was just, I don't know if you saw, and I saw myself and sensed myself do this, like, the idea of just sitting and looking out the window or laying on the floor or looking up the ceiling or the sky. Yeah, I mean, something that some people would consider, quote unquote, a waste of time.
mhm,
I'm at that point too, similar to you, where I realize I don't need to be this busy all the time. And so now that I realize that, what does productive look like? Right? How do I
mhm.
even define that? What does how should I enjoy this downtime? Because now I'm not questioning the downtime
Yes.
and what I
Yes.
what I should fill it with. Now I'm enjoying that downtime and learning to enjoy it and not feeling guilty about it or not feeling
Yes.
like there's something because I'm a list I function on lists, right? I have a list for everything. Um,
Okay.
and so now I'm like, okay, there's three things on my list. I'm good with that. you know?
Yes, yes,
So yeah,
that's
yeah,
huge. Absolutely. Yes,
yeah.
I think that giving the permission,
Hmm.
not wearing busy as a badge of honor, but can we
Yeah,
wear rest as a badge of honor?
absolutely.
Unapologetically,
Absolutely.
like, yep, I'm gonna sit down and asking yourself. I encourage people to talk to themselves and to
Hmm.
ask yourself, what is it that you need? Whether
Yeah.
it's, and yourself will tell you, you need some water, you need to move your
Hmm.
body, turn on
Hmm.
some music and have a dance break. What are
Yeah.
we waiting for? Permission? Nobody's going to ask us to sit down and chill out.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So martyrdom is so last year.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we get
Exactly.
to
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No more martyrs, no more martyrs, especially Black women, people in general. But when you see these like, headlines of people, just, dying or committing suicide and, realizing some of the pressure that they're under, it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Martyrdom is so last year and,
yeah,
hopefully it's the new normal
yes,
for a lot of us. So, and then my final question for you. So, if you have a bucket list, or if you don't have a bucket list, and I think this is similar to the last question, but this may, provides us a little bit more insight into what you plan on doing. Is what would you say is one thing, just one thing that you haven't done that you're just itching to do outside of starting the business
yes.
that moving and storage business, and outside of, I forgot that second thing
The
that you said you
retreat
wanted.
center.
The retreat center. Is there anything else that you're itching to do?
Absolutely. And I'm going to do it for my 50th birthday next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to look eyeball to eyeball, female to female, with a matriarch, not lion, elephant.
Oh,
I
wow.
want to be at an elephant sanctuary and
Yeah.
feel that connection and
Mhm.
just revel in her might and power, uh,
Mm.
and just experience that moment. I can't wait to be able to do that.
Wow, that sounds, ah, I've never even, that is so awesome. Oh, wow, that is awesome. Just thinking about that. And I wonder if she would hold your gaze. That's so awesome.
Right. I'll let you know. Or
Yes, yes. Well, if there's anything that we've learned about you so far, Jennifer, is that you do what you want to do, right? And in other words, you accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. And you've been able somehow to kind of intertwine and in that into, I would say, more expertise, more life skills, whatever it is, to be able to help people. I feel like all of this that you've gained over time, all the certifications, your education, your life experiences, are all make you, the life coach and therapist that you are. So I do appreciate the time that you've taken out to share with me and with the audience, so we can get to learn a little bit more about Jennifer Joy Jackson. Jennifer, before we log off, though, I really wanted you to please share your, where people can find you on, what all your socials, your website, anything you'd like to share.
okay. I'll share the Instagram and then we can put the others in the link because
Mhm.
they're pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
But on Instagram, I have two. One is Living Metamorphosis Inc. And
Mhm.
the other is at author
Mhm.
underscore counselor underscore me.
There we go.
There we go. And
Author,
I'll put the
counselor,
website and
me.
all that
Yes,
in a minute.
absolutely. Great. Well, we will definitely make sure that that is readily available for everyone. Thank you again for your time.
You.
Thanks for, helping us understand. Once again, I'm always trying to bring everyone I can to the table, right? To help everyone understand age has no limit. And Jennifer is yet another example of that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.